Hi there! If you're wondering whether you should be focusing on a top-down approach or bottom-up approach to help you heal from your complex PTSD symptoms, then this video is for you. So in case you're not quite sure what that means, the top-down approaches, a classical example is cognitive behavioral therapy. So the top-down is very focused on your cognition, the thinking, your perception, how you see things, right? The bottom-up approach is more focused on your sensations, right? The feelings, the touch, what you see, what you can hear, smell, taste, and those kind of things. Somatic experiencing is the classical example there. I also want to flag here that some or most therapists probably use multiple approaches and they pull practices and tools from different approaches. So it's very rare that you have a therapist that would only do top down or only bottom up. And I almost think it's impossible because our body, everything is connected. We can't separate this, right? A thought within milliseconds produces a feeling in our body, right? There's really the feeling, the thought and the feeling actually can really influence our decision. What are we going to do then? If we're going to take action or not action, right? It affects the result or the outcome. So thoughts and feelings are very powerful, but a lot of people are very dismissive of cognitive behavioral therapy. And they think that doesn't work for people with complex PTSD. So I just want to clarify here, we're all on the same page here, but for me at the beginning when I was diagnosed with complex PTSD, when I was in crisis, I thought I was damaged goods. I just hated myself, I just didn't want to live, I didn't see a point in it, I thought I was just a burden, a waste of space, and my inner dialogue was horrible. That was like a war going on inside, right? I was just reliving past traumas, and I just couldn't see this ever getting any better. And at the same time, I had a lot of sensations in my body, right? There was anxiety, you know, if you ever had a panic attack, there's sensations in your body are intense, you know, that heart rate, I can't even put it in words, but it's also the grieving, the sadness. It's so heavy, so intense. Or perhaps it's that emptiness. I had that feeling that I'm hollow and empty on the inside, and at the same time I'm really heavy, right? All these weird sensations and feelings, and I was also very numb at times as well. I was just curious, did you experience any of this, right? On your healing journey here and there? Perhaps not always, or perhaps you remember a time when you were really stuck in your head, ruminating about past stuff, reliving certain scenarios over and over and over again, right? Or perhaps you are, like me, a bit of a master in catastrophizing about how certain things unfold for you in the future really, really badly, right? I always saw myself as homeless, dying on the side of the street, homeless, alone. That's where my mind would go to in seconds, right? For everything. So you can see that there is a connection between our thoughts and how we are feeling and our sensations that we have in our body. So I truly believe, and I really want you to listen, I truly believe that we need both. I know it is, there's looking at our thoughts, it is so painful, it is so difficult, right? And do not get hooked and tangled with what is, with that inner critique or inner critical voice that you have, right? That it can be so demeaning or so heartbreaking as well, that inner dialogue that we have, right? And to address this, it takes courage, right? And we don't want to. So I invite you to get really curious about, and there's a lot of resistance there to look at that and work at this. It's usually one part of you, not all of you, right? I really like to see it that way for myself. That helps me. It's not all of me. There's one part who is feeling really scared about doing this kind of work. There's one part who is really working hard to protect me from this for whatever reason, right? And just getting curious and kind of comforting myself and saying, okay, we don't have to do this right now. I just really want to get curious about what is it there? Why does this part want to protect me so bad? So I can assist that part to become get this part on board with the whole healing journey, because they can really sabotage my progress, whether this is top down or bottom up, right? Because for me, somatic experiencing exercises were extremely difficult. I just didn't want to go there. I didn't want to feel anymore, because I had so many times that I've had really intense emotions. Perhaps that is you too. This is the last thing I want to do, is more that kind of stuff, right? And again, so for me, it was more getting curious there. There was a part there who really tried to protect me from experiencing any kind of sensations in my body, right? Because I had a lot, like you do too, probably. So we want to get curious about what it is there, and allowing ourselves to be flexible. Right? So whatever feels right to you. So at the beginning of my healing journey, I would say in therapy, my therapy session, perhaps 90%, 95% even of the sessions were top down for me at the beginning. But what I also did at the same time as I had the therapy sessions, which I didn't know back then that this was bottom up, but I also did martial arts. I was playing the flute, I was surfing, right? Perhaps you love dancing and things like that, or you're just shaking, and all these kind of exercises, they're bottom up approaches. And none of those people, or none of those hobbies and things that I engaged in, the people there, they didn't even know that I had PTSD. None of them were trauma informed, and I didn't do them in terms of healing. I was oblivious how big an impact these hobbies of mine actually had on my healing journey. And in a way, I'm glad I didn't do them for that reason. I really wanted to get that. I did the therapy for the healing. The other things I engaged in, they were actually my hobbies. I didn't do them with the intention to help me on my healing. I think this is really crucial, that we still find things in our life that we do purely because we enjoy, that purely because we are passionate about this hobby. This is something that you just like, or like engaging in or doing, whether this is building little model planes and make them fly. I don't know what it is, whether it's painting or something. Allow yourself to do that. Because all those things can be bottom-up things to balance out your therapy if it's a heavy thing on top-down approach, right? To have that balance. Another thing that I had in my house to help me in crisis, to be more centered and present and get back into the here and now, is a crisis box. I called it crisis box at that time. I don't like to call it that anymore. But what I had inside this box is a lot of sensory kind of toys, things that you usually get for children. They were squishy, they had different textures, some were smooth, some were a bit edgy or a bit rough, and I had Play-Doh, just things to touch, all the sensory kind of, really allowing myself to feel that. And these kind of things, when I was really caught up, whether this was ruminating in the past or having flashbacks or catastrophizing about the future, so really getting engaged in that box, and the things that I had got me back into the here and now, helping me do the senses got me back. So it's kind of like the bottom-up approach. So there's things that we can have in place in our own home to balance this, right? Top down, bottom up. Because sometimes a therapist does more on this side than the other, right? So many of you live rural and you can't get into a face-to-face therapist. Like, I'm a coach, I'm not a therapist, but all my coaching is done on Zoom. So it's a little bit more tricky to do bottom-up approaches in that sense. It's easier to do top-down when you're not face-to-face, right? But to not let that or feel like this is limiting your healing. Allow yourself to get curious and explore and experiment with different things in your house, in your environment, with different hobbies, to make it more rounded, more fun. Many of my clients say, I didn't realize that healing work can be so much fun, right? This was just really important to me to bring some more joy into this, right? Rather than that dryness, because especially the top-down approaches, when we're really looking at our mindset, our beliefs, there's subconscious and unconscious thought processes and patterns that we're falling into. It can be a little bit dry, a little bit tedious, it can be taunting and stuff. So we want to bring some fun into that. That's just my opinion. So, but I really encourage you to not exclude neither or. Just get really curious if there's a lot of resistance towards one or the other, to notice there's a part of me that is trying to protect me from something, and just get curious about what that could be. But I truly believe that we need both for our healing. Right. That's my opinion, but I'm curious to hear your opinion as well. So please leave me a comment down below, and as always, sending you lots and lots of love and rainbows to brighten up the tough times just a little. See ya, bye!